Michael Katsidis was one of the most entertaining fighters of the 2000s and early 2010s. He was a classic come-forward aggressive brawler who would take punches to land his own, and was known for his relentless pressure, granite chin and devastating knockout power. He had a decent run at world level, but generally lost to the most genuine world-class fighters he faced. Nordic Warrior here, welcome back to my retrospective boxing series. Today we're going to be looking at the Australian lightweight brawler Michael Katsidis. So Michael Katsidis turned pro in 2001. He actually went 12 rounds in only his second pro fight, winning the Australian lightweight title, proving that he was willing to take big risks early in his career. He had a string of victories against journeymen, mostly by knockout, and was developing a reputation as a monstrous puncher. The first serious test of his career came in 2007 when he travelled to the UK to fight the popular former British Commonwealth and WBU champion Graham Earl for the vacant WBO interim title. In a great fight where both guys hit the canvas, Katsidis went on to stop Earl, forcing Earl's corner to pull him out after the fifth. He successfully defended his title once in America against Saw Amonsot, winning a competitive unanimous decision, before taking on the crafty veteran Joel Casamayor. The fight was very close and competitive all the way through, with both guys hitting the canvas. However, Casamayor won the fight by a close unanimous decision, giving Katsidis the first defeat of his career. Later that year he went back over to America and took on the tough Mexican-American contender Juan Diaz for the vacant IBO world title, losing by a close split decision, in a very close fight. Opinions were split on who should have won the fight, but nonetheless Diaz was awarded the decision, giving Katsidis the second loss of his career. After a couple of wins against Angel Hugo Ramirez and the veteran Jesus Chavez, he got another shot at the WBO interim title against Vicente Escobedo, winning by a close split decision. Once again he had one successful title defence, travelling over to London to fight the popular undefeated contender Kevin Mitchell. The fight was considered a huge test for Katsidis, as Mitchell was very highly regarded in the UK, mostly due to his dominant win over Bradis Prescott and his insane hand speed and knockout power. Nonetheless, Katsidis managed to win the fight, stopping Mitchell on his feet in the third round, in what in my opinion was probably his career best performance. He then had a huge step up in class, taking on the Mexican legend Juan Manuel Marquez for the WBO world title. Katsidis got off to a great start, knocking Marquez down in the third round and winning some of the early rounds, and looked on the verge of a stoppage victory. However, Katsidis wasted a lot of energy in the early rounds and Marquez made some adjustments, walking him into counter punches and taking over the fight. Katsidis was stopped in the 9th round after taking a beating. The following year he got a shot at the WBA and WBO interim titles, taking on Robert Guerrero, losing by a wide unanimous decision in a pretty poor performance. He made a comeback later that year in Australia with an impressive third round KO victory over high-level journeyman Michael Lazada, before getting another shot at the WBO interim title, back in the UK against former super featherweight champion Ricky Burns. Going into the fight, despite his losses to Marquez and Guerrero, Katsidis was actually a huge favourite to beat Burns, as Burns was moving up in weight and most people thought that Katsidis was too much for him and he would get KO'd. In a pretty big upset, Burns went on to beat Katsidis by a wide unanimous decision, completely outboxing him over 12 rounds. At that point, it seemed as if Katsidis had seen better days and that his time at world level was pretty much over. He went back over to America and lost a very close, controversial majority decision to fringe contender Albert Menza, leading to some calls for Katsidis to retire. He had a couple more wins in Australia, including a unanimous decision win in a rematch against his former rival Graham Earl, before travelling back over to the UK to take on British contender Tommy Coyle. Katsidis was brutally knocked out in the second round and looked a shadow of his former self, once again leading to calls for Katsidis to retire. He had a few more lower level fights in Australia to close out his career, retiring in late 2017. So how good was Michael Katsidis? In my opinion, Michael Katsidis was a great fighter to watch. He was guaranteed entertainment whoever he fought, and despite his flaws, he was actually very technically gifted in my opinion. His punching technique, as well as his footwork was fantastic, and he was absolutely relentless in his prime. He was very good at cutting off the ring and crowding his opponents. This was how he was able to completely overwhelm guys early in fights, for example Kevin Mitchell and Graham Earl, who had no idea what hit them. Even the great Juan Manuel Marquez had an absolute nightmare with Katsidis' relentless pressure early on in the fight. However, he did have some pretty major flaws. For example, his defense was pretty awful, and he took way too many punches to last long in his prime. By the time he fought Albert Menza, he had lost to pretty much every world-class fighter he fought, and you have to imagine that all the punches he took along the way took a lot out of him over the years. Nonetheless, I think he would have been very dangerous for any lightweight in history on a good night. I would have liked to have seen him against the likes of Lomachenko or Jorge Linares. I think those would have been great fights, and although I wouldn't necessarily favour him to win, I definitely think for the first few rounds, he would have been an absolute nightmare. Thanks for watching guys, I really enjoyed looking into the career of the Warrior Michael Katsidis. Let me know what you guys think, stay tuned for more retrospective boxing videos. Thanks for watching and God bless.